Hi everyone. We're back for week 11, The Body and Identity in the Modern World. This is our final week for Unit 5. And let's go to these guiding questions that are just modified slightly when we consider the modern world. To what extent do modern cultures use naturalism or abstraction in the depiction of human figures? And what we're going to see is certainly the move towards more abstract depictions. We're also going to see new types of artistic mediums being used. So, for example, performance art, where the actual body of the artist becomes the artwork itself. What axes of identity are included in the depiction of the human figure? I give you a few examples of what some of those axes might be, like gender, race, or class. I'm sure you can think of some others. And finally, what do we learn about the major concerns and issues of a culture when examining how they depict human figures in art? We're going to start with this portrait. And portraits like this of a Maori leader are considered treasures that are passed down from the ancestors, and they are treated with great care and reverence. After a person has died, in the Maori world, these are the indigenous people in New Zealand, a leader's portrait might be hung on the wall of a family home or in the central building of a community center, to be spoken to, wept over, and cherished by people with genealogical connections to those depicted. Now, this portrait is kept in the Auckland Art Gallery, and the art institution acknowledges these living links between the portrait and its descendants, and often the gallery seeks the advice of descendants when thinking about permission for reproduction or restoration projects. The subject of this portrait is Tamati Waka Nene, a chief of the Ngati Hwau people, who are a particular Maori tribe. He was an important war leader who was born in the 1780s and died in 1871. Note that this portrait was not completed until 1890. This period, kind of from the 1780s to 1871, was a period of rapid change in New Zealand. So Tamati Waka Nene, he would have seen the first British missionaries and settlers arriving that would change the Maori world forever. He was an astute leader and businessman, and he actually converted to the Protestant Christian faith and was baptized in 1839. Choosing to be named Tamati Waka after Thomas Walker, who was an English merchant that he had met. And Tamati Waka Nene was revered through his life as a man with great mana. Remember, mana is that Polynesian concept of respect, honor, kind of personal efficacy, that is a powerful spiritual force in Polynesian culture. In this portrait, Nene wears a kahu kiwi, which is a feather cloak. And we see all of these individual kiwi feathers. And then we also see that he wears an earring of green stone, this kind of big earring here. Both of these pieces represent prestigious treasures in Maori tradition. He's also holding a particular hand weapon that has feathers adorning its blade, and this really finely carved detail here on the staff that shows us a paua eye. All of these features, the kiwi feather cloak, the earring, the hand weapon, they mark him as a man of mana, a man of status. But the most important marker of mana here is this intricate facial tattoo, which is called a moko, M-O-K-O. And we're going to learn more about Polynesian tattoo here shortly. But let me say something about the artist. Lindauer arrived in New Zealand in 1873, after having been a portraitist in Europe. And he began to paint portraits of well-known Maori leaders, including Nene. And he was basing this particular portrait off a photograph of Nene because, of course, he was already deceased at the time. And so here we see a kind of we see a Maori leader depicted through the view of a European artist. All right, let's talk more about tattoo, because it's such an important aspect of Polynesian life, and it's especially important in Samoa, New Zealand, Hawaii, the Marquesas Islands, and Rapa Nui. Rapa Nui is Easter Island. Both men and women are tattooed with designs that are meaningful to the individual, and tattoo art is associated with prestige. It embodies the concept of mana, societal rank and status, and also genealogical ties. As indicators of status, they are inseparable from the body, which is one's link to the ancestors and the other world. And so actually infusing the body with this art form actually kind of emphasizes the mana, this kind of spiritual force. And tattoos are important ways to signify your ethnic, gender, family identity, and it's a tradition that includes that is continued on by Polynesian immigrant groups around the world. Samoan men's tattoos are called pe'a. We see examples of them on the left, and they typically cover the body from the waist to the knee. And for women, the tattoo is called malu, M-A-L-U, and it typically covers the upper thigh to behind the knee. Pe'a designs are more dense, as you can see in these examples, and the malu designs are slightly less so. I have posted this video that is about 5 minutes long, and it's really helpful. And I think because tattoos are popular, have become a kind of popular pop culture almost phenomenon, it's really interesting to watch these videos and see the tools and the instruments, how these ancient tattoos are actually done. So I have a link, I have a page with the video links on Canvas under Unit 5, and so make sure that you check out that video. Picasso is one of the most famous modern artists, and we think of Picasso with the rise of modern abstract art, but it's so interesting, I think, to go back to some of his earliest works from childhood. And sometimes what happens is, if we see something like this and we say, oh, well, Picasso's a modern artist, he just can't do anything realistically, he just can't hack it. But these examples of his early work prove otherwise. This drawing of a classical sculpture on the left and then this painting of a First Communion on the right show that he was a kind of artist whiz kid, and he was actually admitted to the Art Academy in Barcelona at age 13. He finished these rigorous entrance exams that took most students well over a month. It took him a week. And early in his life, his art begins to take a different path and develops into more modernism. The PEEP season is upon us, and I just have to show you my PEEP diorama of this very painting, The Young Ladies of Avignon. That's going to be our focus here. The Young Ladies of Avignon is a watershed painting in the history of art. And here we see Picasso painting The Young Ladies of Avignon on the left in my PEEP diorama from a few years. Okay, I'm going to end this video here, and then when we come back, we're going to start with The Young Ladies of Avignon to learn about how this work was so revolutionary.